want to thank. I propose, and I'm going to digress slightly. We're in a situation. The president asked me to head up a cancer moonshot. I want to thank Rich Fitzgerald, the county executive, Allegheny County executive, for being here, and Guatemala, El Salvador, and to go in and say in Honduras and say, look, I just spoke at Dartmouth on health care at the medical school, or not. I guess I wasn't actually on the campus, but the people from the medical school were at the. I want to be clear. I'm not going nuts. I'm not sure whether it was a medical school or where the hell I spoke, but it was on the campus. This guy is moving to just foment hate. I took on Putin in terms of Iraq. In terms of what was going on in Ukraine. My name's Joe Biden. I'm running for president of the United States. Look me over. If you like what you see, help out. If not, vote for the other person. And immediately changed the law in the state of Delaware protecting transgender people. Party Party's campaign, pick up your phones. Pick up your phones. Now, send a text to the word United to the number 30330, 30330, or 303330, or BOO. Wait. You got it. It's out the back there. If you agree with me, go to Joe 30330 and help me in this fight. Because think of what's been adopted. Milton Friedman's notion that the only obligation. I know I'm called middle class, Joe. It's not meant as a compliment. It means I'm not sophisticated. And there's an area where there's an important difference between the candidates. I'm running. My long friend, time friend, and she's a friend. She's been my friend in and out of public life. It will cost 1/30th. Costs a lot of money. Almost $740 billion to do what I want to do over 10 years. But not $30 trillion. Not 30 trillion. Always feeling the pressure of an economy that's teetering on a recession. To say that LGBTQ people have no civil rights. The price for whatever the drug costs are. Every single solitary person qualified in community college, increasing the number of 6 to 9 million people. The country wasn't built by Wall Street bankers, CEOs, and hedge fund managers. But that all changed with our Republican friends in the late 80s when they adopted Milton Friedman's notion that the only obligation, and the reason is not just to help people who have or in fact are likely to get Alzheimer's.
President Biden, just to be clear, would you or would you not rejoin the TPP, yes or no?
I would not rejoin the TPP as it was initially put forward. Like your employer-based policy, you can keep that policy. Now, if in fact you are in a position, what was the case, you worked for... The single most stressed I was asked to speak to the American Psychiatric Association, to go over to the University of London and speak to the World Psychiatric Association. We find ourselves in a position where you're in a circumstance where we've adopted Milton Friedman's notion, the conservative economist. Among many qualified people, I'm the best qualified person for this job. We can do it, and it's going to take billions of dollars to do it, and we can afford to do it. We can't afford not to do it. That's why we're so special. It took courage. It took resilience. But President Trump and the demagogues around the world, we have $1.6 trillion worth of loopholes in the law. Union workers, the UAW took incredible cuts in their future. We just were to reinstitute the CAFE standard. They know who we are. We have to let them know who we are. It's interesting. I just spoke to the International Society of Psychiatric, the International Organization of Psychiatrists, I forget the formal name of it, over in London, because the people are figuring out there's not a damn thing we can do that we set our mind to that we can't get done. Avoid having an excuse to walk by the dealer and say, no, I'm not going to be a mule. I got something to do. I got to go do boom, boom, boom. Cut in half the number of uninsured of the Asian American Pacific Islander community. Cut in half. Not a Republican talking point. The Republicans are trying to kill Obama. But I never ever thought that I'd see what I saw in Charlotte. You know, I came home from law school. But if Donald Donald Trump is reelected. Don't worry, I'm so serious. Children, I love to hear them. The fact is that the bills that the future president here, that the senator is talking. I think Secretary, I wasn't the press going to say I'm downgrading him by calling him Senator Booker. Saks or Benettons or Nike or whatever in the market in their places where the malls. I was the one that suggested to the President Obama. I don't want to. Donald Trump does pose an extra strength to this. It's not hypothetical. The only people who entitled to rewards are stockholders. And they'd say to you, take my shotgun. I said, I have 3. I now have 5 because my son died and I have 3 of his. I have 5 shotguns. Ladies and gentlemen, he is deliberately and completely ignoring the legitimate authority of Congress, and he's doing what he does with the complicity. The conservative columnist. So I couldn't tell anybody but Barack. He's one of my closest friends. Look, we provide a Medicare option. That's exactly what Barack and I talked about in the beginning.
Couldn't get it through, though.
We need to work again with Canada and Mexico as neighbors, not as adversaries. We can put every one of them in school, cutting in half the cost of a 4-year education. So have a mechanism to control drug prices. You know, we're no longer using chemical-based things. All this thing we're dealing with, cancers and other issues related to the immune system, are bio-oriented. It's about all these breakthroughs we have with dealing with the whole immune system. They did another country and annexed a significant portion of it called Crimea. Right. He's saying that it was my boss, it was his fault. I ran what they call the moonshot, dealing with cancer, and something after that set up the Biden Cancer Initiative. And here's the point. There's things that are worth dealing with China tough on. What presidents say matter. The opportunities are amazing. We are in a position to be able to lead the world like we've never been able to do it before. By his failure to exercise any international leadership. It means investing much more in medical research to conquer devastating diseases like cancer and addiction and Alzheimer's. I got assault weapons banned for 10 years. It had to be reauthorized because of hanging chads in Florida. The last president said, no, I'm not going to reauthorize it. We also know we need teachers. My wife is a full-time teacher, taught all during when we were vice president. High-quality options. The public option will be available in my plan. We'll make sure it's not quality. We'll make sure it's only affordable. Quality is affordable. Not the end in themselves. Among many qualified people, I'm the best qualified person for this job. I want you to know, if you look at PolitiFact. And by the way, the idea that NATO. We have to eliminate the funding gap that exists between minority white and majority white and non-white districts. The fact of the matter is, I'm awfully sophisticated about why, how, and who built this country. Let me say this simply and clearly. I mean, they're not bad folks, but guess what? It's a mischaracterization of my position across the board. Not those of us running for president alone. Not just activists like you. Stop trying to keep your workers organized. That triumph of democracy and liberalism over fascism and autocracy. When I got out of school, when Bobby Kennedy and Dr. King had been assassinated in the 70s, late 70s, when I got engaged. You know how many tax loopholes there are in the code now? Yeah. 1,640 billion. Eliminate one. How can a person dignity be maintained? We're no longer the wealthiest middle class in the world. We have to eliminate the funding gap that exists between minority white and majority white and non-white districts. The fact of the matter is, I'm awfully sophisticated about why, how, and who built this country. Let me say this simply and clearly. But we lead by the example of our power, not just the power, not just the example of our power, but the example we're out there, and it's what we say. By strengthening by strengthening. We choose truth over facts. You ever heard a President of the United States talk about law enforcement like he does today? I oversaw, as the chairman of the Judiciary Committee a long time, the FBI. Look what he talks about. They're not national assets. Wall Street bankers, CEOs, hedge fund managers, no matter how good and decent they are, they're not the ones who built this country. Why they do that?